Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're looking at a story that honestly feels like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood movie, but it is 100% real. It's about those invisible, unbreakable threads connecting us to the animals we love. Just picture it. A quiet, frost-covered morning. The kind of day where the world is perfectly still, the colors are muted, and the air literally bites at your skin. It's in that somber, silent atmosphere that our story kicks off. We aren't just looking at the timeline of a dog's life today. We're really examining the profound depths of unconditional loyalty. Okay, let's dive into this. I'm sorry, I can't take care of him anymore. That is the exact handwritten note left outside the shelter doors. Just 10 words, right? But those 10 words hold an absolute ocean of heartbreak. You can almost feel the trembling hand of the person who wrote it. Because, well, it clearly wasn't written out of malice, but out of absolute crushing desperation. And left right beside this note, shivering in the freezing dawn, was a tiny golden retriever puppy. Which brings us to the first part of our explainer, the blue blanket. I want you to ground yourself in the physical reality of your typical American suburban animal shelter on a freezing winter morning. Imagine the cold chain-link fences, the breath of the early arriving staff hanging in the air, the gravel crunching underfoot, and there, completely alone against the vast, kind of terrifying backdrop of this unfamiliar place, sat the puppy. He was left with absolutely nothing in the world, except for a simple, worn blue blanket. That blanket was literally his only tether to the life and warmth he knew just hours before. The shelter staff, stepping out into the cold and finding this incredibly vulnerable creature, were instantly heartbroken. They wrapped him up in that blue blanket, brought him inside to warm up, and gave him a name. They called him Buddy. And this brilliantly illustrates the psychology of a loyal dog. See, Buddy didn't just adapt and move on like some animals might. He developed a heartbreaking daily routine. First, he'd sit near the front gate of the shelter, completely refusing to stay in the back runs. Second, his eyes locked onto every single car pulling into the lot. Third, as the car doors opened, his tail would just start wagging with this pure, unfiltered hope. But the fourth step, man, that's where it hurts. As those strangers approached and walked past him, and he realized they weren't his person, that wagging tail would slowly, inevitably stop. Over and over again, day after day.
So that takes us right into Act 2, a 7-year vigil.
Every day, every week, every month. Tick, tock. The seasons changed outside that chain link fence. Spring rains turned the gravel to mud, summer heat baked the asphalt, autumn leaves blew past the gates, and winter brought the frost right back again. Time didn't just pass, it pounded like a drum, relentlessly ticking away the prime years of this beautiful dog's life. And a tragic pattern emerged. For the first few weeks, Buddy was front and center at the gate. But as weeks turned into months, families coming in naturally gravitated toward the tiny, bouncing puppies. Buddy just aged. He faded into the background. Months turned into a staggering 7 years. 7 years of watching families leave with other dogs. Imagine his golden coat slowly graying around the muzzle, his steps getting a bit stiffer, all while trapped in this seemingly endless wait. The shelter staff were just absolutely baffled. Watching this dog day in and day out, they had to wonder, why did Buddy never just give up? Why did he still watch that gate? Most dogs eventually surrender to the routine of the shelter, right? They accept it as their forever reality. But Buddy was holding on to something else, something totally unseen by the staff. A memory, a promise. And now, the atmosphere completely shifts as we enter Act 3, The Stranger Returns. We're moving away from the melancholic routine of the shelter now. The air is about to change. Everything is about to shift on what started as just another perfectly ordinary, quiet afternoon. So the crucial point is this seemingly random moment. 7 full years later, the bell on the shelter's front door chimes. In walks an elderly man. He isn't looking for a puppy, he isn't casually browsing. He steps out into the yard, just an ordinary visitor on an ordinary day, walking past the rows of kennels.
The moment Buddy's eyes landed on this elderly man, he froze. Every single muscle in the old dog's body went completely rigid. It was as if time itself had just stopped. The sights, the sounds of the barking dogs around them, the smell of the shelter, it all just vanished. And then, boom, Buddy sprinted across that concrete yard faster than anyone had seen him move in years. He wasn't just barking, he was crying, letting out this high-pitched, overwhelming wail of pure, unadulterated joy. All 7 years of waiting just evaporated in a split second of explosive physical action and overwhelming emotion. The elderly man couldn't even stand. He instantly dropped to his knees, right there in the dirt and gravel, tears just streaming down his face, throwing his arms around the graying golden retriever. You can practically feel the warmth and the immense, heavy relief washing over both of them. It was a reunion that left every single shelter worker standing there in stunned, tearful silence. Let's move to and see how this builds our final revelation, Act 4, A Promise Kept. Because see, this wasn't just a random stranger who happened to have a connection with the dog. To understand the gravity of this reunion, we have to look at the heart-wrenching truth of who this man actually was. This man was Buddy's original owner. 7 years prior, he had suffered severe financial ruin and actually became homeless. He had to make the most agonizing yet selfless decision a person can make. He surrendered his best friend to the shelter so the dog wouldn't freeze or starve on the streets. Over the next 7 years, this man fought tooth and nail. He slowly, painstakingly rebuilt his life, secured a home, and finally achieved stability. And through every single one of those hard-fought days, he never, ever forgot the puppy he left behind. As he held his old dog, literally crying into his fur, the shelter workers heard him whisper, "I promised I'd come back for you." It is such a profound, beautiful statement. He had whispered those exact words to that tiny puppy on that cold winter morning 7 years ago. And the most incredible part of this entire story, Buddy never stopped believing it. Buddy knew. That afternoon, there were no more gates, there were no more strangers walking away. After 7 unbelievably long years, the elderly man and his loyal, graying best friend walked out of that shelter, got into a car, and finally drove to their real, forever family home. Their cinematic journey together was finally complete. The crucial takeaway from this source material is elegantly simple, yet profoundly deep. Love doesn't forget. It just waits. Whether it's weeks, months, or 7 long, hard years, true, unconditional love defies time. It defies distance, and it absolutely defies all the odds. I really want you to think about that as we wrap up this explainer. Who in your life would wait 7 years for you? What kind of bond does it actually take to sustain that kind of unwavering faith? It's a thought-provoking testament to the animals we share our lives with and the incredible emotional depth they truly possess. Now, if this explainer of Buddy's incredible journey touched your heart, make sure you subscribe to PawCoded for more unforgettable animal stories exactly like this one. Hit that button, share it with a fellow animal lover, and we will see you for the next deep dive. Keep loving your pets, everybody.